Okay, let's start with Alpine. So on the day after they ditch Duhan, Oaks resigns, and they say there's no connection. To be honest with you, Oaks is going to resign anyway because he doesn't have control of that team. Fabio Briatore is the actual principal of that team de facto. He does whatever he wants. He brought in Colapento after the fact, even though Oaks wasn't in it. They had invested so much energy in Duhan. Duhan is supposed to be a number two driver. Then you say, well, let's see how Duhan does. If he doesn't do well, we'll bring in Colapento. Their main driver is Gasly, who's not doing well this year. Not his fault. So it shows that rather than focusing on letting Gasly, who was doing well, Gasly was coming fourth, fifth, end of last year, doing well in qualifying, doing nothing because the team is not focused on getting points. Flavio Briatore is fattening the team up to sell it. What do you think, Falabi?
Yeah, well, you're absolutely spot on there. And I think the main reason why Oliver Oaks left was because there were a lot of disagreements over driver lineup. I mean, he's less than a year in his role. Why would he leave so quickly? And like you rightly mentioned, Flavio Briatore calls the shots. They just call him executive advisor. He's basically the man in charge of all the
And
decisions.
they don't do works and engines, so what's the point?
Yeah, so what's the point?
Why
So
would you want to be a team principal or be an engineer of that team and you're not doing anything?
yeah, not doing anything exactly. And team principal, I feel there should be a separation of duties. It's not a one-man rule, I believe, that team principal thing. So I feel it's because of disagreements over driver lineup. Like you said, they've
Mhm.
invested so much in Duhan. Although I dare say Duhan too has not really covered himself in glory. He's had a lot of poor performances this season, and he has accumulated a lot of penalty points. So I feel they just wanted to give Colapinto a chance to maybe evaluate him, maybe for the next
When they're
five.
bringing in, do you remember Colapinto crashed two or three cars last year? My
Yeah,
thing is, and this goes back to, sorry to cut, this goes back to my thesis. It was not my thesis because I've heard it from Baba Windsor. They're bringing in these young boys in F1. F1 is a profit organization, so they're not spending money on tutoring the drivers and improving the driver's performance. It's up to the driver alone. Like Verstappen has to do sim racing at home. So they're not spending like in football, like in soccer, they've spent millions on actually training the players. In F1, they don't train the drivers; they just bring them in, and the drivers. So they're not spending money on that because they're just worried about making full profits. Verstappen is doing well because his dad trained him from a young age.
yeah.
So I don't know who trained Piastri, but Piastri is well trained, and Piastri has Mark Webber. But you just bring in a Duhan who's 20 years old, no mentorship, no nothing, just to the point where they don't even have somebody to tell them don't press your DRS. So it seems like it's not just these young boys' fault. These guys aren't getting technical training and driving. They're just basically winging it like what they learned in when they were doing kart. And I can't believe that a sport like F1, which is so technical, there are not actually academies training these guys. There's some academies. Most of these guys don't go through academies. What?
That uh, Colapinto had a stint with Williams, and
Mm-hmm.
I think there were some things they saw that probably impressed them. Maybe not so much, because I would imagine why would they what informed their choice for Colapinto for replacing Du.
William, look, Colapinto did okay. He started off very well. He got some points with was it with Williams? But he started crashing
Williams.
cars, and Red Bull backed away from signing him. I'm
Oh,
telling you, the only reason they're bringing Colapinto to Alpine is for money and for the blonde girls and the Latino girls who like his looks. I'm telling you, and he's also a good driver. But Colapinto is a high profile driver. He's going to bring in money. I think that's the only reason they're bringing him in.
yeah.
Duhan doesn't bring it. Same thing with Checo. Checo's going to Cadillac because of money. What are your thoughts? Yeah.
And it shouldn't just be money because, like you rightly mentioned, F1 is a very technical sport that requires a lot of high-level training. It's going to have affect the development of these drivers if it's all about money. I mean, look at this guy, Liam Lawson, as well. Had Kimi Antonelli not hit the ground running, it would have been another
Yeah,
failed
but
project.
Antonelli has a support system. He has Mercedes. They have money and they have training. And also Antonelli's dad owned. I think he has a background in F1. His dad owns car racing companies,
So,
car racing teams on the lower divisions. You see what I'm
okay,
saying?
so he has a basis, he has a foundation, really.
hmm Lewis Hamilton's dad was a mechanic for one of the teams. So you're not seeing that with some of these guys. These guys are on their own because there's no money. And as long as there's guys like Verstappen and Co at the front, people just say, "Oh, we don't care about you." For example, what's his name? Gasly. Gasly used to race with Verstappen when he was young, so he has experience. But these young guys coming up aren't getting the right training, and they're making very basic mistakes. Same thing with Norris. I don't know where Norris learned how to drive. He has no racecraft at all. But anyway, I no Norris is fast, but he has no racecraft. He
No
doesn't know how to
racecraft.
pass people,
It's just
and he
fast.
doesn't remember like if there's a yellow light, you have to wait. He doesn't do the basic meticulous stuff. Look at the way Verstappen held Norris and these guys. Verstappen was leading that race for 30 laps last week before he lost. The fact that he even made it to 30 laps and still was leading goes to show you how good his racecraft is in defending. But it's a science. It's just like fencing. It's not just, oh, let me see what I can do. You actually have to learn the principles. There are books on this, just like chess.
Yeah,
This is
sure.
not this is not improvisation. F1 is not improvisation. There are
Yeah,
classical rules of racing that Verstappen knows. He knows all the rules. He even knows the rules when he sees other people breaking it. He
yeah.
calls them out and then they get penalties.